So how many hams does it take to install? Stick around and we'll get right to it. Hey, welcome back guys. Jason, KM4ACK. This morning we are on top of the ARES trailer and we're going to be doing a very cool install, literally. Let me show you guys what we got going on. All right, so at the moment, as you can see, we don't have much here, but we will in just a second. We've just got a hole in the roof, but we're going to be putting an air conditioning unit in this particular spot. We've had a fan in it in the past, but that is not very pleasant on fill day. So when this company reached out and offered to sponsor this ARES trailer with an air conditioning unit, well, I said yes. So let's see how hard it is to get this thing installed, and then let's see how good it does. And I want to see what the battery draw is, most importantly. If you guys remember, we put a 300 amp hour battery in this thing earlier this year, and we've got roughly 400 watts, if I remember right, of solar that has also been donated for this project. So you guys give us a minute while we get this thing up on the roof. All right, so there's the unit sitting on the roof. We had 3 guys to basically push it up here to me. Once I got it up here, it's not too bad. I just flipped it over and dropped it right in the hole. Guys, if you're doing an install like this, literally don't overthink it. It's way simpler than you think. We put the foam sealant around the 14-inch by 14-inch opening, and then just turned this over, dropped it in, took the metal bracket from underneath. I'll show you guys that in a minute. Put it on and then bolted it down. Right now, we're trying to decide exactly where this power cable is going to run. So that is not, we're going to end up having to create a new penetration point, but that has not been determined yet. So we'll get back to this and we'll let you know where we stand here in just a few minutes. I think we're going to get a test run on this here shortly. So I'll be back with you guys in just a minute. If somebody would be kind enough to grab the sealant tube and that caulk gun out of the truck, please. Because I think we're pretty much done up here. Now, unfortunately, I lost one of the clips. That was the one where we were completing the installation from the inside. But once we set that AC unit on the outside from the top, you basically had 2 bolts that come down. Those were a little bit long because this is a thinner roof than, say, an RV would be. So that was what you saw me cutting off in that previous clamp. Beyond that, there was 1 square metal bracket that went up into that 14 by 14 hole, and those 2 bolts that you saw me cutting off dropped down through that. You simply tightened those up. Then there was 2 plastic pieces that then attached to the to that metal bracket from the underneath side, and you only needed to connect 2 little electrical plugs to plug those up and then snap those plastic brackets, that was the control interface and then a trim piece that went around the outside of it, into place, and then we were ready to test. And this was pretty exciting, guys. All right, this is pretty cool. Still haven't figured out how to swap it from Celsius over to Fahrenheit, which us Americans need, but we have got ice cold air. Now there's 2 or 3 different modes on here. Right now I've just got the AC indicator right here. I'll show you guys the other modes here in just a second. I'm not real sure what I'm doing, but I'm trying here. Now let's take a look at this, which is way more exciting. This is what's being pulled off of the battery. So we don't have any solar currently hooked up to this. We're pulling 500 watts. And it says we can run this for about 7 hours and 36 minutes. But let me change this up a little bit, and let's go to one of the other modes. I may have to pause the camera here for a second because it takes it a minute to start cooling. I'm going to run it over to the strongman setting, as you can see right there. Not exactly sure what that indicates, but let's put it back down to 16. We do have ice cold air coming out again. Now let's take a look and see what it's drawing on this particular mode. And 536 watts again. The highest we've seen this pulling is about 700 watts, but the compressor is definitely running right now because we do have cold air. Now, we'll get back to the testing here in just a second because there is one more test I want you guys to see, but I want to give you a little bit of context here. My RV air conditioning unit that's on the roof is either a 13.5 or a 15,000 BTU. I can't remember off the top of my head. What I can remember is it draws around 1150 watts when the compressor is running. So that is roughly half that's being drawn by this air conditioning unit, this new 12 volt unit. That's roughly half when you compare it to a traditional 110 volt AC unit. So I was really impressed to see how little energy this thing is going to consume when the compressor is running. And you got to keep in mind that once the area that you're trying to cool cools down, well, that compressor is not going to run not going to run full time. It's going to be cycling on and cycling off. So those numbers that you see me giving, saying that it's going to last for, say another 7 hours and 36 minutes, well, that's if the compressor ran the entire time. And that's just not going to be the case, even on the hottest of days here in Tennessee. Now let's check out that other test. All right, so here's what we're looking like right now after we got this thing installed. 85 degrees outside at the current moment, and yes, it feels like 94, unless you're standing under this air conditioner. Again, we're pulling about 535, 36 watts. Now, let's see if we're gonna be able to read this. I don't know if you're gonna see that on camera, so I'm gonna lock that in and try to get to that so you can see it. Where is it? There it is. And 64 degrees coming out. So that's roughly a 20 degree difference in air temp, and I can tell you it absolutely feels good. This trailer, it took about 15 minutes for it to be a very noticeable difference on the inside. And everybody standing here has definitely agreed with me that this is a nice upgrade. So this was the final piece of the major upgrades we wanted to do to the ARES trailer. If you've been following along this year, back around in February, we upgraded from a 100 amp hour battery to a 300 amp hour battery, or 320. We added, I believe it was 300 or 400 watts of solar to this setup, and now this air conditioning unit. The next step will be actually reorganizing the inside of the ARES trailer. We want to streamline that. We want to take out some equipment that's been deprecated and get everything more functional inside. But all of this work is going in because we use this ARES trailer in a lot of our public service events, such as the Christmas parade that we do each year, and we just want to make this more comfortable and a better operating environment. In fact, the best operating environment we can provide for those operators that are working inside this ARES trailer. So every little thing that we can do, whether it's adding larger batteries or now adding an air conditioning system, is just going to improve their comfort level while they're operating. So there you have it, guys. There is the Vlim AC unit. We are definitely going to be enjoying this. If you found today's information helpful, be sure to give us a thumbs up before you head off. We will see you guys on the next one. Until then, 7-3.